I heard her laugh, sharp, breathless, the kind she tried to hide when she didn't want me to know she was truly amused. It cut through the thin apartment wall like a blade, followed by a low murmur I recognized instantly, even though I wished I didn't. His voice, deep, confident, too familiar. For one blinding second, my mind refused to process the meaning behind the sound. A laugh could mean anything. A voice could be anyone. My chest tightened, heat flooding my throat, and yet I stayed perfectly still at the threshold of our bedroom, fingers curled around the doorknob I had suddenly forgotten how to turn. Then came her whisper, soft, playful, followed by another burst of laughter. That was when my vision pulsed, dimming at the edges. That was when reality, my reality, snapped in half with a clean, cruel sound I could feel in my bones. I wasn't supposed to be home for another hour. They didn't know I was here. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't dare interrupt whatever moment played out on the other side of the wall, because interrupting it would make it real, undeniable, final. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for anything. A dull buzzing rushed in my ears, drowning out everything except the rhythmic thud of my pulse. The air felt heavier, metallic, like it carried the taste of betrayal long before I was brave enough to name it. Her laugh faded. Their voices dropped lower. I stepped back from the bedroom door, careful, silent, as if the floorboards might betray me the way she had. The living room was dim, shades half-drawn, dust motes floating like suspended time. The faint smell of her perfume lingered, jasmine and something warmer, something I used to love because it meant she was near. Now it felt like poison seeping into my lungs. My phone vibrated in my pocket, startling me. I fumbled it out with trembling hands and saw her name on the screen, Maya. A text, running late, be home in 20. Don't wait up, red heart hash. A lie delivered with a heart emoji. I stared at the message until the letters blurred. My hands went numb first, then my tongue, then whatever part of my brain handled sanity. I knew what this was. I understood every implication. Yet my chest tightened with a foolish, desperate hope that there might be another explanation, something innocent, something that preserved the fragile world I'd built around us. But the truth lingered past the point of mercy. My wife, or the woman I thought I knew, was inside our bedroom with someone else. I didn't know how long I stood there, frozen in the middle of the living room. The laughter didn't come again. The whispering stopped. For a terrifying moment, I thought they had heard me, that they were tiptoeing toward the door, preparing for whatever hellish confrontation awaited. But then the mattress creaked. Then soft, muffled sounds, barely audible, but unmistakable. They hadn't heard me. They didn't care enough to be quiet. Something in me snapped in a way I'd never experienced. Not anger, not heartbreak. Something quieter, more lethal. A cold shift, like the ground beneath me had turned to ice and I had two choices, fall through or keep walking as if the world hadn't just collapsed. I backed away, step by soundless step, and left the apartment. The hallway outside was still, washed in pale yellow light from the aging bulbs overhead. My legs felt foreign, like I was piloting someone else's body. I descended the stairs one at a time, gripping the railing so tight my knuckles blanched. Outside, the early evening air hit me hard, cold, sharp, bracing. Cars rolled by. Street lights flickered awake. People walked dogs or carried groceries, all blissfully unaware that my life had just fractured in a way that would never fully heal. I made it to my car before my knees gave out. I sat behind the wheel, engine off, staring at nothing, lungs refusing to work properly. Each breath shuddered. Each heartbeat felt like a nail being driven in deeper. I didn't cry. That surprised me more than anything. Maybe the shock held everything back. Maybe my heart was protecting me in some twisted way, delaying the inevitable collapse. My phone buzzed again. She sent another message. Can you pick up ice cream on the way home? Craving something sweet. Smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. The laugh emoji stung worse than her actual laugh through the wall. I closed my eyes. Breathed once. Twice. But the air didn't fill me. It felt thin, insufficient, leaving me gasping. My hands shook as I typed back. Sure. Any preference? My own calmness terrified me. It wasn't denial. I could practically still hear the muffled sound from our bed. It was something else. A survival instinct. A desperate attempt to maintain normalcy even while drowning. She replied instantly. Chocolate caramel swirl. Thanks, babe, red hot hash. That word, babe, hurt more than anything I'd heard inside the apartment. Not because of the hypocrisy, but because of how effortless she made it sound. How easily she could switch between laughing with someone else in our bed and calling me affectionately in the same breath. My chest tightened until I thought something might rupture. I didn't go for ice cream. I just sat there, watching the sky shift from pale blue to bruised purple, feeling the weight of the truth settle over me like wet cement. When I finally turned the car on, I didn't know where I was driving. My mind didn't care about the destination. It wanted distance, physical, emotional, any kind. I drove aimlessly through side streets, headlights carving through the rising darkness. My fingers tapped restlessly against the wheel, a silent Morse code of panic. My thoughts ricocheted. Why, huh? Who is he? How long? Did I miss signs? Did I ignore them? Yes. God, yes. The memory hit hard. Her recent late nights, her sudden desire for alone time, the way she guarded her phone with a new intensity, always face down, always locked. The small smile she'd hide when she thought I wasn't looking. The new perfume she just wanted to try. I had rationalized it all. Love, I realized, wasn't just blind. It was willingly blind. A car honked when I drifted too far into the adjacent lane. I jerked back, muttering an apology to no one but the universe. My eyes stung, but still no tears came. I ended up at the waterfront, a quiet stretch of boardwalk lit by rows of soft lamps. The water moved gently, rippling with moonlight. I parked and got out, leaning against the railing, breathing air that finally felt clean. The ache in my chest expanded, sharp and unrelenting. I pulled my phone out again. My thumb hovered over her name. I considered calling her, confronting her, screaming, crying, demanding answers, reasons, apologies, but I didn't. Instead, I scrolled down until I saw a name that made my stomach twist. Elias. He had been my friend long before he became her colleague. We'd all had dinner together countless times. Movie nights, double dates. He brought his girlfriend over often enough that our social lives practically merged. His voice, the laughter I'd heard inside the apartment, matched his perfectly. I wanted it not to be him. I wanted any other explanation, any other possibility. But the truth was a living thing pressing its weight against my ribs. He had been around a lot lately, helping her with work presentations, staying late, sending memes in our group chat at midnight. I remembered the way she'd look at her phone and blush. How did I miss it? Always did I see it, and just choose silence because the alternative was too painful to consider? My hands balled into fists at my sides, knuckles cracking. The wind whipped colder, biting at my skin. A jogger ran past, headphones in, oblivious to the storm inside me. People moved on with their lives. The world rotated. But mine stayed stuck in that moment. Her laughter with him, a cool joke that became my reality. I didn't know how long I stood there before another message buzzed. Where are you? Need you home soon. Red hot hash. I stared at the message until something inside me shifted. Subtle, dangerous, irreversible. Suspicion had solidified into certainty. Pain had hardened into resolve. I typed a reply I barely recognized as my own calm voice. On my way. 3 words. Neutral. Deceptive. I wasn't telling her what I knew. Not yet. Suspense held me in place, a taut wire pulling tighter with every breath I took. I needed to see her face, hear the lies from her own lips, watch her scramble for excuses. But most of all, I needed the truth from her, not the truth from behind a wall. As I turned back toward the car, something else stirred in me, a quiet question. Not how could she, not why him, not even what comes next, but something darker. Something honest. When trust shatters as violently, does anything survive the fallout? And if it doesn't, what kind of person rises from the wreckage? I didn't know the answer yet, but I would soon, because I was going home. And nothing would be the same after tonight. By the time I pulled back into the parking lot, my heartbeat had steadied into something slow and deliberate, like it had decided panic was useless now. I killed the engine and sat there for a moment, staring up at the rectangle of warm light that was our bedroom window. It glowed calmly. You wouldn't know a crime scene lay underneath it. I checked the time. An hour had passed since I had first heard her laugh. More than enough time for him to leave. More than enough time for her to make the bed, adjust her hair, practice her smile. The thought made my teeth clench. I got out of the car and forced my legs to carry me up the stairs at a normal pace. Not too fast, not too slow. Just another evening, another husband coming home with hypothetical ice cream, and a head full of love instead of evidence. The keys fell heavy in my hand as I reached our door. I slid the correct one into the lock, pausing for half a second, listening. Silence. I turned it. The door opened on a familiar scene. The soft glow from a lamp in the corner, the faint hum of the fridge, the worn gray couch that had seen too many movie nights and half-finished conversations. The air smelled like her, jasmine and warm sugar, and underneath it, a hint of something else. Sweat? Maybe. Skin. A recent presence. Hey, you're back early. Her voice floated from the kitchen, casual, almost cheerful. She didn't appear flustered, didn't rush to meet me. She sounded like she did every other day, a little tired, a little amused. I closed the door behind me, fingers tighter than necessary on the handle. Yeah, I answered, somehow steady. Traffic wasn't bad. She stepped into view, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Her dark hair was pulled into a loose bun, a few strands falling around her face. She wore a soft, oversized t-shirt and shorts. Comfortable. At home. Her eyes flicked over me briefly, then down to my hands. No ice cream, she asked with a teasing pout. Forgot? I said. Sorry. Wow. My cravings mean nothing to you now, she said dramatically, then grinned. It's okay. I'll survive. She walked toward me and rose onto her toes to kiss my cheek. Her lips were warm, slow, familiar. I felt my body respond automatically, leaning in, the old instinct still intact even as my mind recoiled. I could smell her shampoo, the faint trace of wine on her breath. No trace of him. Long day? She murmured, drawing back to look at me. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. I studied her face. Her eyes, dark brown, ringed with faint tiredness. Her nose with a small bump she hated and I'd always loved. Her lips, slightly swollen, like she'd been kissing recently. Of course she had. She squinted slightly. You okay? You look off. Do I? I'm fine. I lied. Just tired. She watched me for another second, like she didn't quite believe me, then shrugged it off. It wasn't unusual for me to be wiped after work. I had that excuse in my pocket already, ready-made. You want dinner? She asked. I was just heating up leftovers. Or we can order something. What leftovers? I asked. Pasta from last night, she said. The one you said needed more salt. I struggled for a moment, trying to remember last night, the blur of it. I remembered the pasta, the show we half-watched, her scrolling through her phone as I talk about a new project at work. I remember the way she'd laugh at a message and quickly turn the screen away when I asked, What's so funny? Pasta's fine. I said, Okay. She smiled, light and easy. Go change. I'll dish it up. Her back turned as she walked toward the kitchen again. My eyes followed her, tracing the small shift in her posture, the casual sway of her body. How much of this was real? How much was performance? I moved down the hallway toward our bedroom, each step slow, measured. The door was half open. The room inside looked perfectly normal. Bed made, pillows fluffed. My side table slightly messy, haze meticulously organized. The faint smell of her perfume lingered here more strongly, mixing with fabric softener and our usual lived-in scent. But beneath it all, I sense it, the ghost of what had happened here less than 2 hours ago. I walked in and closed the door quietly behind me, as if I were the intruder now. My gaze went to the bed first. The comforter was smooth, but not perfect. Too neat for a lazy evening. Not neat enough to say it had been made in the morning and stayed that way. I moved closer. My fingers brushed the comforter. The fabric was slightly warm. That could mean anything, I told myself. It could mean nothing. Don't invent what you already know. I knelt by the side of the bed, fingers brushing near the edge, down toward the floor, half expecting to find something obvious, an unfamiliar shirt, a pair of socks, a stray belt. Nothing. If he'd been here, they'd been careful. Or maybe they weren't careful because they knew I trusted them both enough not to look. A bitter laugh rose in my throat, but I swallowed it. I opened her nightstand drawer. Lip balm, a book, earbuds, a folded receipt from some cafe. Normal things. Harmless things. My chest tightened. What was I hoping for? A signed confession. The bathroom was next. I stepped inside. The mirror reflected a face I barely recognized. My own eyes looked older somehow. Harsher. My jaw clenched, a muscle ticking in the corner. I scanned the counter, her skincare, my razor, a comb. A damp towel hung from the rack, another bowl in the hamper. Then I saw it. 2 glasses in the sink, both with smudges on the rim. We weren't the type to leave extras lying around. She would have cleaned them. The Maya I knew wiped counters as she cooked, rinsed dishes while the pan was still warm. But tonight, 2 glasses, still sitting there, abandoned. Cold crept up my spine, methodical and steady. I picked one up. The base was still faintly wet. I sniffed the rim. Wine. We rarely drank alone. When we did, she liked to joke, "You're my drinking buddy for life." I set the glass down carefully, every motion gentle, precise, like I was operating in a crime lab and needed to preserve evidence. What was I doing? Cataloging details? Building a case? Yes, because if I confronted her without proof, she'd have room to maneuver, to cry, to twist, to tell me I was overthinking, that I was paranoid. I needed something she couldn't wriggle around, something undeniable. But for now, I had to be him again, the version of me she expected to see, the one who believed her. So I washed my face, changed into a fresh t-shirt, and went back out. She'd set 2 plates on the coffee table, the TV remote beside them. Netflix hovered on the screen, waiting for us to pick up where we'd left off in our show. She glanced up as I entered. "Hey, handsome." The nickname stung now, cheap and shabby. "Hey," I said, settling onto the couch. She curled beside me, tucking one leg under herself, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her body along my arm. She handed me a fork, then pressed play on the remote. We ate in relative silence, the show's dialogue filling the room. Characters argued on screen, secrets unraveling in melodramatic fashion. The irony scraped at me until I had to swallow around it. Maya laughed at a joke, then nudged me. "You okay? You're quiet. Like, even for you." "Just tired," I said again. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "I can give you a massage later." The offer sounded so genuine it made my head spin. "How was work?" I asked. My voice felt tight, but controlled. I didn't look at her. I focused on the TV, on anything but her eyes. She made a small face. Long, stressful. Presentation went okay, though Elias helped me punch up the slides. You know is weirdly good at that stuff. His name dropped into the space between us like a hot coal. I didn't flinch. "Yeah," I said lightly. "Yeah." She forked another bite. He stayed late. We rehearsed a couple times. I was this close to a full-on panic attack. He talked me down. "Must be nice," I said, "having him around." I felt rather than saw her slight pause. "It is," she said carefully, "is a good friend." My jaw tightened. "Yeah, he is." She turned then, angling to study my face. "Why do you say it like that?" "Like what?" She frowned. "Like there's something behind it. There's something behind it. There's a whole damn storm behind it." Instead, I shrugged. "I don't know. Just tired. Bad day." "Worse than mine," she challenged, nudging me with her shoulder. "Because I nearly cried in front of my entire team today." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Worse than yours." Her teasing faded. She watched me, searching, wanting to understand. Wanting, perhaps, the version of me she'd always known. Stable, steady, predictable. "You can talk to me, you know," she said softly. "You don't always have to hold everything in." The words twisted inside me. "I know," I said. So can you. Something flickered across her face at that. A tiny hitch, a faint tightening around her mouth. But it vanished too quickly to pin down. Of course, she said. I always do. I let the lie sit there, unsaid but loud. We finished eating. She took the plates to the kitchen. I listened to the sound of running water, the clink of ceramic. She was washing dishes now, including the glasses, I guessed, erasing him, polishing away traces. My phone buzzed beside me on the couch. I picked it up automatically. A new message. Group chat, me, Maya, Elias, and his girlfriend Nora. Elias. Great job today. Star of the show clapping hand sign fire. Maya replied almost instantly. Maya. Ha ha, stop smiling face with open mouth and cold sweat. Couldn't have done it without you. Nora. Oh, wish I could have seen it. Celebrate without me white frowning face has got to work early TMR. Celebrate without me. My throat dried. Elias. Another time winking face dinner soon? Maya. Yes. 100%. I scrolled up through the previous messages in the chat, suddenly aware of how many late-night conversations I'd skimmed past, how many inside jokes I'd ignored, how many times they'd messaged one-on-one before adding me or Nora back into the thread. I clicked out of the chat and opened Maya's direct thread with him. It was locked. She'd set up biometric lock for sensitive work messages a couple months back. I remembered teasing her about being secretive. She'd laughed, kissed my cheek, and said, "You don't want me to get fired over confidential data, do you?" I had accepted that. Now about rose in my throat. "Hey," she called from the kitchen. "You checking work emails? Thought you said you were off the clock tonight." I locked my phone and dropped it onto the couch. Just scrolling. She came back, drying her hands. She flopped down beside me and stretched out, placing her feet in my lap. We'd done this 1,000 times. Lazy evenings, quiet intimacy. Her toes were cold. She wiggled them against my thigh. Warmed these up. I rested my hands lightly on her ankles, fingers tracing the bone, the curve of her skin. "You trust me, right?" she asked suddenly. The question hit me sideways. I stared at her. "Why would you ask that?" She shrugged, gaze flicking to the TV and back. "I don't know. You just feel distant tonight. Not in a mad way. Just far. Did I do something?" "Yes. You didn't do anything," I said. The lie tasted like metal. She studied me for a long moment. "I know you. You're in your head. Usually that's work. Or your brother. Or some existential crisis." She smiled faintly. "But this feels different." I swallowed. "It's nothing." "Ryan," she said, using my name like an anchor. "Come on, talk to me." My fingers tightened around her ankles. She winced slightly. "Sorry," I muttered, loosening my grip. "It's okay." She reached for my hand, threading her fingers through mine. Her thumb brushed my skin. The contact was almost unbearable. "You trust me," she repeated quietly. I looked at her. At the woman I proposed under a string of cheap fairy lights in our first apartment. The woman who cried when we'd signed the lease here. The woman whose laugh had filled my life for 7 years. The woman whose laugh had just filled my bedroom with someone else. This was the moment I realized I could demand the truth, spill what I'd heard, throw her question back at her like a grenade. But I wasn't ready, because once the words left my mouth, there was no going back, no pretending. No quiet night with leftovers and Netflix and questions I could still pretend not to know the answers to. So I swallowed and forced myself to nod. "Yeah," I said, the words scraping my throat on the way out. "I trust you." Her shoulders relaxed. Something in her face softened. "Good," she whispered, "because I trust you too." The hypocrisy almost made me laugh. We watched the rest of the episode in silence. Her breathing slowed, evening out against the cushions. Halfway through, she drifted off, eyelids drooping, head lolling against the back of the couch. I turned the volume down, watching her. She looked peaceful. Guilt flickered in her features even now, or maybe I only imagined it. Her lashes cast faint shadows on her cheeks. Her mouth relaxed. The woman I loved. The woman who had lied so easily. I slid my hand out of hers slowly. She didn't wake. Her phone rested on the arm of the couch, screen dark. For a long moment, I stared at it. Lines were being drawn inside me, quiet and invisible but very real. There was a me who believed in boundaries, in privacy, in respecting her space. And then there was a me who had heard her laugh with another man in our bed. One version of me would leave the phone alone. The other version reached for it. My fingers closed around the smooth device before I fully decided which man I was going to be. I picked up her phone, pulse pounding in my ears, and pressed my thumb against the screen, an old habit from when she used to let me open it to cue songs or check maps while she drove. Access denied. She'd removed my thumbprint. My heart stuttered. That, more than the glasses, more than the muffled sounds, more than the lies about being late, drove the nail in deeper. She hadn't just drifted. She'd built a wall. Quietly, carefully, intentionally. I stared at the glowing, try again prompt, my reflection faint behind the numbers. In the dim light, with her sleeping beside me and her secrets locked under my thumb, I understood something painful and clear. Trust wasn't a single thing that shattered once. It was a series of tiny cracks you ignored until the mirror finally fell apart. I set her phone back exactly where it had been and leaned my head against the couch, eyes burning. I still didn't cry. Instead, I made a decision. I wouldn't accuse her yet. Wouldn't scream. Wouldn't beg. I would watch. I would listen. I would pay attention all the ways I hadn't before, every late meeting, every locked screen, every softened tone when she said his name. Because if my marriage was going to die, I wanted to know exactly how it bled out. The credits rolled on the episode. The room dimmed further as the TV asked if we were still watching. Yes, I whispered, grabbing the remote. I'm still watching. But I wasn't talking to the screen. The next morning, she woke before I did. I knew this because her movement roused me, not the soft, affectionate kind, but the quiet shuffle of someone trying not to disturb the person beside them. The mattress dipped lightly as she stood. I kept my eyes closed, breathing slow and even, pretending to linger in sleep. It wasn't suspicion that made me feign unconsciousness. It was self-preservation. I needed distance, even from the truth. I listened as she padded across the room, opening drawers with muffled thumps. The faint tap of a makeup brush against plastic followed, then the slide of her closet door. Fabric rustled. Hangers clicked. A minute later, the bathroom door shut and the sink turned on. Her morning routine. Our morning routine. Except I wasn't part of it anymore. I sat up slowly. The bedroom was washed in early gray light, the kind that felt too soft for the weight in my chest. Her side of the bed was warm but empty. The pillows still held the shape of a body. I pressed my palms into my eyes, breathing against a sudden swell of nausea. Waking up had changed nothing. The betrayal didn't care about hours or sunlight. It sat beside me, patient, heavy, unyielding. When I walked into the kitchen, she was pouring coffee into 2 mugs, mine and Hayes. She glanced up, and her face lit in a way that struck me as cruelly normal. "Morning," she said gently. "You slept pretty hard." "Yeah," I muttered. "Bad dreams." "Not dreams." She slid the mug toward me. "Drink. You look like you've had a rough night." I forced a small smile. "I have." She hesitated. "Because of yesterday, you seemed out of it. Still feeling off." I held her eyes. "A little." She nodded like she understood. She didn't. "You want to talk about it?" she prompted softly. I almost laughed. She wanted honesty while hiding half her life behind a locked phone. "Not yet," I said. "Okay," she murmured. "I'm here when you're ready." The lie was smooth. Practice. And if I hadn't known what happened last night, I would have believed her. She sipped her coffee, pressing her free hand lightly to my shoulder as she passed me on her way to grab her wake bag. The warmth of her fingers lingered a moment too long. She shouldn't still feel this familiar. She shouldn't still feel like home. "Are you driving today?" she asked as she draped her coat over her arm. "I'll take the train," I said. "You sure?" "Yeah." She stepped closer, reaching up to straighten the collar of my shirt. A bit of lint, nothing more. But the intimacy of it, the casual domesticity, struck me so hard I almost flinched. She noticed something flicker across my face. Her eyebrows pinched slightly. "Ryan, seriously, What's wrong? Did I? No, I said quickly. No, you didn't do anything. She studied me, long and searching, the way she did when she knew I was hiding pain but didn't know the source. If she had any guilt, she hid it well. A perfectionist, even in betrayal. She finally sighed. Okay, well, if you think of anything you want to tell me, I'm here. I nodded once. She kissed my cheek, warm, lingering, affectionate, and for a moment I tasted bitterness where love used to be. I love you, she whispered. My throat constricted. The words almost broke something inside me, because hearing those words now felt like a punch from someone who once taught you how to breathe. I love you too, I said quietly. She smiled, relieved. She picked up a bag and keys. See you tonight. Yeah. She paused at the door. Want me to grab groceries later? Sure. She nodded again, gave me one more soft smile, then left. The door closed. Silence settled over the apartment. I stood still for a long time, staring at the door she'd just walked through. It felt symbolic in a way that made my skin crawl, her stepping out into her day, her life, her lies, and me left behind, holding all the pieces she didn't even know had shattered. When I finally moved, it wasn't toward my own things. It was toward her phone charger on the counter, the empty charging pad. Her phone was gone. Of course it was. She kept it with her now. A locked vault. I took a slow sip of my coffee, then set the mug down and grabbed my jacket. If she could lie so cleanly, so effortlessly, then I could play along. I rode the train downtown with the same numb clarity as someone walking through a dream. Everything felt real, yet disconnected. People crowded the car around me, a teenager blasting music too loud, a woman scrolling through social media with an expression of mild disgust, a man in a suit rehearsing slides under his breath. Everyone had secrets, hidden stresses, private wounds. None of them knew I was holding a grenade in my chest, its pin dangling by a thread. Work passed in a fog. I answered emails, sat in meetings, pretended to listen while my mind churned on one subject alone. How much of her life with me was real? How long had they been doing this? Why didn't I see it sooner? Every time I thought I had exhausted the questions, another surfaced, sharper, darker. By 3 p.m, I couldn't sit still anymore. I walked out. No one stopped me. No one asked where I was going. No one cared. The train ride home was a blur. The apartment seemed sterile, mechanical, stripped of the life she brought into it. I moved through the room slowly, opening drawers, cabinets, closets, not invading her privacy, but searching for inconsistencies. But she had left nothing behind. No messages scribbled on paper. No receipts for dinners she wasn't supposed to attend. No stray items of his. No perfume stronger than usual. No sudden new wardrobe additions that screamed trying for someone else. Nothing. That was its own answer. She was careful. Too careful, which meant the affair wasn't new. It was practice, refined, comfortable. My stomach twisted. Near 5, my phone buzzed. Maya, headed home. Need anything? I stared at the message. Normal, routine. A wife checking in with her husband. I typed, "No, I'm okay." Her response came almost instantly. "Can't wait to see you." The words felt like sandpaper dragged across an open wound. But I responded, "You too," because this wasn't the time to show my hand. Not yet. I needed something concrete. A mistake. A crack in the polished surface. Something she couldn't talk her way out of. I sat on the couch, elbows on my knees, phone clutched in my hands. A new thought surfaced, unwelcome but unstoppable. What if she didn't love him? What if it wasn't about him? What if she loved me and chose him anyway? That hurt more than anything else I considered, because it meant the betrayal wasn't a breakup. It was a decision. The door clicked. Her voice floated in. "Honey, I'm home." Even the sitcom-like cheer in her tone felt like an insult. "Hey, I called back," crafting neutrality. She walked in wearing a soft gray sweater and jeans, hair slightly wind-tangled, cheeks flushed from the cold. She looked normal. Familiar, beautiful in a way that made my heart ache with something ugly. She came over and kissed me, her lips warm and certain. "You okay?" she asked again, searching my face. I shrugged. Same as this morning. Well, she sighed, dropping her bag. I had a better day today. Much better mood. Elias says hi, by the way. My pulse jumped. He says hi? I repeated carefully. Yeah. She moved to the kitchen, rummaging through the grocery bag. He was asking if you're doing okay. Said you seemed burned out last night on the group chat. That so? Yep. She paused. You should message him. He gets worried. I laughed. Quiet, disbelieving. He gets worried. I echoed. She turned around, slightly defensive. Is your friend too, Ryan? Yeah, he was. Before he started sleeping with my wife. I didn't respond. She noticed my silence again and blew out a breath. Okay, seriously, we're talking tonight. I'm done guessing. She walked over, planting herself in front of me. Is this about something I did? She asked softly. Because if it is, just tell me. I can't fix what I don't know. Her eyes were wide, vulnerable, convincing. She was either the best actress I'd ever met, or she'd become so comfortable lying that her face didn't remember how to show guilt. You didn't do anything, I said again. Then what? But before she could finish, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She reached for it instinctively, almost too quickly. A name lit the screen. One I couldn't ignore. Elias. Can you talk? Her thumb shot out to silence a message, but not before she saw my eyes on the screen. She froze. I froze. Silence thickened between us, heavy and suffocating. Her throat bobbed. It's work stuff. Oh! My voice was razor-thin. At 7 at night. He just as a question. About the project. Right. She waited for me to blink, or breathe, or soften. I didn't. Another buzz. Same name. Elias. Urgent. Need you. Her hand trembled. Just barely, but enough for me to see it. Let me see it, I said quietly. Maya's face drained to color. What? Let me see the message. It's private, she said, voice cracking on the word. I stood slowly. Her eyes widened. Ryan, don't do this. Then unlock your phone. No, she whispered. The denial sliced deeper than any confession could. Why not? I asked. She backed up a step. Because it's work. Confidential. You know that. My voice sharpened. Do you really expect me to believe that? She swallowed hard. You have to trust me. I did, I said, stepping closer. Until last night. Her breath hitched. She stared up at me, panic blooming across her face, and that was when I knew. She knew, not what I knew exactly, but she knew something was cracking. What happened last night? She whispered. Instead of answering, I asked again, unlock your phone. Her eyes filled with tears. Ryan, she whispered, please, don't ask me that. Why? Her voice was small. Because you won't like what you see. The honesty of that sentence knocked the air out of me. It wasn't a confession, but it was close. I felt something cold, something final, settle in my chest. Maya, I said quietly, who is he to you? Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Another buzz. Elias, please, I need to talk to you. Now. I stepped back. She reached out as if to stop me, but her hand hovered in midair, inches from my arm, trembling. Her face crumpled. And finally, she whispered the truth. His complicated. A laugh broke out of me, harsh, humorless, complicated. Her tears spilled. She shook her head rapidly, as though she could undo the word. I stared at her, something inside me sinking deeper than I thought possible. So, I said softly, it's real. Her voice broke. Ryan, I never meant for. But the doorbell suddenly rang. We both turned. She froze. My stomach dropped. The bell rang again, louder this time. Maya whispered, barely audible. Oh, God, that's him. For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The doorbell echoed through the apartment again, insistent, sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade. Maya's breath shuddered out of her as she pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. "Oh, God," she whispered again. "He wasn't supposed to. He said he wouldn't." But she didn't finish the sentence. She couldn't. I stared at the door, my pulse thundering in my ears, a low roar that drowned out everything else. My feet felt rooted to the floor, as if my body refused to move until my mind caught up with what was happening. The man on the other side of the door, the man whose voice I heard last night, the man she'd been lying for, was here, now, and whatever illusion of control I thought I'd had shattered. Another ring. Maya flinched like she'd been struck. "Don't answer," she whispered urgently, grabbing my wrist. "Please, just listen to me first. Let me explain before." Her voice cracked. "Before he does." I pulled my wrist free, gently but firmly. "Explain while you still can." Her eyes filled instantly. "Ryan, please, I didn't want it to get like this." "Like what?" I said quietly. "Real." She recoiled like the word physically hurt her, but she didn't deny it. The bell rang again, 3 times in rapid succession. Angry now, I took a slow breath, something cold tightening in my gut. "Why is he here?" She blinked rapidly, tears clinging to her lashes. "I don't know. I swear. He said he needed to talk. He didn't say he was coming over." "And you didn't tell him no?" Her silence answered for her. My jaw clenched. "Stay here," I said. Maya's panic surged. "Ryan, no, please don't." "It's my home," I said. "I'll answer the door." She grabbed my arm again, but this time her voice broke from fear, not guilt. "Please don't do anything stupid. Ryan, please. I'm begging you." I looked at her, really looked, her shaking, her eyes wide with dread, her breathing unsteady, her entire body tense, not for me, but for him. And that was the moment I realized something painful. I wasn't losing her. I had already lost her. Long before tonight, I walked toward the door. Each step felt strangely light, like I was floating through someone else's life. When I reached the handle, I paused, not out of fear, but out of a strange, icy calm that settled over me like frost. I opened the door. He stood there, Elias, my friend. Tall, dark hair a little messy, jaw tense, eyes darting past me into the apartment. He froze when he saw my face. "Ryan," he breathed, stiffening. "We need to talk." I looked at him the way someone might look at an unfinished equation, cold, detached, assessing the variables. "We do." I asked quietly. "Yes," he said, stepping forward, like he expected me to move aside. I didn't. He stopped, blinking. Behind me, Maya took a shaky step into view. "Elias, why are you here?" His expression crumpled when he saw her. Relief, guilt, longing, fear. So many things flickered across his face at once. "You weren't answering," he said. I panicked. I thought something was wrong. Something inside me twisted. Sharp, hot. He had panicked. He had come looking for her. He felt entitled to her worries, her silence, her time. I stepped between them. "Leave," I said. Elias blinked, startled. "We need to talk. All of us." "No," I said evenly. "You and I? Nothing to talk about." Maya rushed forward. "Stop. Please. You're both upset." "Upset?" I said softly, without looking at her. "Is that what we're calling this?" Her breath caught. Elias's gaze hardened, defensiveness rising like a shield. "Ryan, listen. This isn't something you can just bury. We need to be honest." I let out a faint, humorless laugh. "Honest?" "Yes," he said desperately. "This has gone too far to pretend anymore." "Pretend?" I echoed, stepping closer. "Pretend what exactly?" He swallowed. My voice dropped to a razor's edge. "That you didn't sleep with my wife." Maya gasped behind me. Elias's face drained of color. "Ryan." "Don't," I warned quietly. "Lie to me again." He exhaled shakily, running a hand through his hair. "I never meant for this to happen." "That's funny," I said softly. because last night it sounded pretty intentional. Maya let out a choke sound, part sob, part apology. I didn't turn to look at her. Elias's shoulders sagged. Let me explain. No, I said. I'm done with explanations. You come into my home, uninvited, after sleeping with my wife, and you think I'm going to give you space to justify it. Elias flinched. Ryan, I'm sorry. Not as sorry as you will be, I said. His body stiffened. Are you threatening me? No, I said, and my voice was frighteningly calm. I'm dismissing you. Maya sobbed. Please, just listen, both of you. Stop. But neither of us moved. The air thickened, a volatile fuse sparking between us. Elias took a breath. I care about her. My heart lurched painfully. And I care about you, he continued, voice breaking. You're like a brother to me. I never meant to hurt you, Ryan. Spare me the brother speech, I said. But I love her, he whispered. Maya inhaled sharply, like she had been cut open and exposed. My vision darkened at the edges. Elias took a trembling step closer. I didn't want it to be this way. God, I'm so sorry. I slammed the door on him. Hard. Maya screamed. Ryan. Elias shouted from the hallway, fist pounding the wood. Let me talk to her. Maya, please, open the door. Her hands trembled violently as she grabbed my arm, pulling me toward her. Why would you do that? Why? Ryan, oh my God, why? I turned to her slowly. Her tears blurred her eyes, streaking down her flushed cheeks. She looked destroyed, broken, terrified, but not of me, of losing him. I stepped back. She reached for me, voice cracking. Ryan, please, say something. So I did. What was he to you? My voice sounded distant, foreign. Say it. She shook her head vigorously, words tangling with sobs. It wasn't supposed to be anything. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I thought I could stop. I thought I could control it. Control what? I pressed. The affair? The lies? Or your feelings? She froze. I stepped closer. Tell me the truth. Her lips parted. Her breath trembled. Her voice broke. I cared for him. Past tense. But tears poured down her face, tears that belonged to someone speaking of something still alive. I swallowed the rise of nausea. And me? I whispered, what am I now? Her face contorted with pain. You're my husband. I love you. I never stopped loving you. But you loved him too, I said. I didn't. Her voice cracked. I didn't mean to. The words came out softer than I expected. Love doesn't happen by accident, Maya. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing into her hands. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to lose you. Lose me. Yet she led him into our bed, into our life. She reached for me again, but I stepped back. Her body shook. Please, Ryan, I can fix this. I can end it. I'll block him. I'll change jobs. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't leave. The truth was a quiet, hollow thing pressing against my ribs. I didn't know what I wanted. Leaving felt impossible. Staying felt worse. I need air, I said. She sobbed harder. Don't, please, don't walk out. I'm not leaving you, I said. Not yet. She froze. But I can't breathe in here. I opened the door. Elias was still there, leaning against the opposite wall, facing his hands. When he heard the door creak, he looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. Is she okay? I stared at him, this man who destroyed my life with a smile and a joke and a whisper behind a thin wall. She's alive, I said. Relief washed over him. It made me furious. I walked past him without another word. He didn't follow. I made it to the bottom of the stairs before my legs gave out. I sat on the cold concrete, head in my hands, breath shaking. My marriage was cracked in half. My friendship was dead. And I was standing in the ruins, trying to figure out who to save first. Myself, or the ghost of the life I thought I had. I didn't know the answer. Not yet. But one truth settled in my chest, heavy, brutal, and undeniable. Her cruel joke had become my reality, and now I had to decide what came next, whether to rebuild or walk away from the ashes. But whatever choice I made, nothing would ever be the same again.